Okay, Mishlei 21:13, day 2. Otim ozno miza'akas dal gamhu yikrav lo ye'aneh. One who blocks his ear from the outcry or the scream of the poor person, he too will call out and not be answered. Or the Targum says, one who blocks his ear so as not to hear the outcry of the poor, he will call to God and not be answered. Okay, so our questions were, what is the case? That's like the main question here, I think, in terms of starting points. Is it a poor person begging and being ignored, or is it a poor person being oppressed? Because outcry, we said, does not seem to be a synonym for like asking for tzedakah. It sounds like he's being oppressed. If the latter, if there's oppression, how? Also, is this whole blocking the ears, is this happening within the like sight or knowledge of the poor person, or is this guy like, you know, sealing himself up in his ivory tower or his home and just like ignoring people? 2, what is a dal in this context? Is it a poor person or a specific type of poor person or something else? 3, who is the poor person calling out to? To God or to other people? Does it matter? Why and for what is he calling out? Is it for money? Is it for resources? Is it for help? Is it for justice? 4, who is the ear blocker calling out to in the second half? Why is he calling out? What does he expect? Whatever. 5, what does otim ozno mean? So we said that it could mean, well, okay. Well, no, fine. Plain shot is you're blocking off the stimulus. You don't want to hear it. Okay, so that's that. 6, why is he blocking his ear? What's his rationale, or what kind of person blocks his ear? And we said, thank you, that someone who's hearing it and being affected by it, but then doesn't want to hear it and doesn't want to be affected by it. What's the cause and effect relationship between blocking one's ear and not being answered? This implies a media connected media type thing, but how and to what extent? And if it's carve onish, what's the chiddush? So, and I mentioned that, like, you know, we were inclined to think of this in terms, or I'm inclined to approach this in terms of a natural cause and effect way, because I think we get more out of the pasuk that way. And then 8, how many instances of the first half are needed to warrant the second half? Meaning, is this a one-time deal, or does it mean someone who like this is their default setting, or something in between? Yeah. Before we go to Mefarshim per se, I just want to share a Malbim, which again, Malbim holds there's no such thing as a synonyms in Hebrew, but I think this one actually is not just a Malbim theory. I think this is like, I think this might be the actual definition of the word. So again, you don't have the Malbim in your packet, sorry, but in the Bir Hamilos, it looks like he only says in the Bir Ha'inyan, Yesh Hevdel ben Hadal uben Harash, okay, Shehu Niz, wait a minute. Did he say this here? Did I just miss it? No. Okay. So let's just see what he says here. I don't want to do the whole interpretation. Yesh hevdel ben hadal uben harash shadal nizdaldel minachasav. So dal means to lower. So rash is a poor person. Dal is someone who was wealthy or did have money and like became impoverished. Okay. And he says, he is a and in the majority of cases, he became that way through I always forget how to translate ashek. Like I know extortion is sometimes used, but there's a broader term. Anyone know? Ashek. Like when you take advantage of somebody, but there's a term I'm looking for here. Hold on, let me just look in the All Torah dictionary. Slow. Yes, Ashek Ashar Ashak. Oshek Ashar Ashak. Okay, let's see. Ashek is loading. Oppression, wrong, extort. All right, fine. Oppress, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so we can learn this as a poor person, but someone who has become impoverished, usually through the victimization of other people. Okay, so we had 2 main approaches yesterday. That, in terms of the natural media connected media, which is that people witness you not being kind or not helping, and therefore they either don't want to help you or they want to not help you, right? As a for whatever reason, but that's like a natural reaction. We don't even need to explain it psychologically why, but it is a natural thing. And then the other approach was that closing your eyes to the outcry of the poor makes you into a certain type of person, and people don't want to help that kind of person based on what they witness of you elsewhere. You know, like not a direct response to your refusal to help, but a response to you as the person. Okay. So anything else before we go to the Mefarshim?
Yeah, So we're saying that the dollar is the person who is oppressed.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, maybe a slightly different is
Sure.
that right, when presumably somebody else is oppressing this person, right?
Mhm.
He's crying out, and then this person's seeing not just like the person in his impoverished state, but also what's causing the impoverished state.
Right.
And that cause is going to be an injustice.
Right.
So now he
Oh, that's
needs
good.
to
Yeah.
rationalize this injustice.
Right.
And so when you rationalize an injustice that you know is an injustice,
Yeah.
so potentially he's now going to have guilty feelings.
Uh-huh.
And God's not going to sweep you with your guilty feelings. You're kind of stuck with that. You're for the rest of your life, you're going to have to live
Uh-huh.
with the fact that you stood by while this injustice was happening.
Uh-huh.
Right? And that's going to cause you like a pain within yourself.
Mhm.
Right? And no one's going to like come out and help you with your pain because it's just an internal thing that exists within you.
Okay. So let me just articulate the first half of that and the second half, but I'm splitting it to halves because I want to branch off of the first half. It is so in light of this, it's not just someone who hears someone who is in need. It's someone who's witnessing an injustice and doesn't do anything about it. Okay. So the opposite of this, anyone have a good opposite that comes to mind? A real world example from the Tanakh? I'm a week ahead. Yeah, I do. Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Right. So the classic opposite of this is Moshe Rabbeinu seeing the Mitzri, oppressing his brethren, and then going and intervening. So what Sean's saying is, you're not just blocking out someone who's in a state of need, you are rationalizing not intervening when there's an injustice being done. Okay. And that is going to, so you were taking it as when he cries out to God, then he will not be answered? Or were you not, or was that just an example? You weren't limiting it?
Yeah, I don't think that's
okay. So Sean took the direction of like, he's going to have these guilt feelings. And that's consistent with what we said yesterday, that's why he shuts his ear. If he didn't have guilt, he wouldn't need to shut his ear because he just doesn't want to feel the guilt, So you could take that approach. Maybe it's just because I don't know. My intuition leads me to look for something that is more fundamental than just guilty feelings. Like I want us to see what happens if we take your other approach of like, what kind of person are you? What kind of person do you become if you are actually like not intervening when you could be saving someone from an injustice?
Yeah, I think that could also work.
Yeah. And then how would that prevent you from being helped when you call out?
So what Sean said yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I'm inspired by. Yeah, yeah. But now we're saying the part that you missed was we're saying a doll is not just someone who's poor; it's someone who has become impoverished through being oppressed. That's what the Malbim says. Yeah, Isaac.
I think when you like aren't so when you don't intervene when there's injustice, then I think that like especially like over repeated instances, then that shapes your character to be someone who isn't like bothered by like you turn the person who isn't actually bothered by the existence of injustice, even if you're not necessarily perpetrating it. You're not gonna like you don't like you're not gonna mind anything like that. Like that's point you're not even doesn't need to like block your mind when there's injustice happening.
Right. So yeah,
people will perceive that because you might be in a situation where you could, like, I think people will see that if you're doing this regularly, and then they're not gonna, when it just happens to you, people will feel like, oh, he got what he deserved.
Okay, right. So you could definitely take it that way in terms of the, you can't expect to benefit from the system when you don't contribute to the system in the sense, right? Like in other words, if you are caring about like, it's like the people who are, if we had a pasuk like this, the guy who with the cops, right? The guy, or not the cops, with the judge, right? The guy who refuses to accept the verdict that the judge hands down, guy gets taken to court, right? And the judge pronounces a sentence and this guy refuses to pay. And then someone else victimizes this guy and he goes to court to try to sue him. What kind of a person is that? Like you want to take advantage of the justice system, but only when it serves you. That's not going to work. That's not going to play out. Yeah. Slightly different approach, which is reminding me in Hilchos Deos with Tochacha, I think, chapter 6. Or hold on, maybe it is not in Tochacha. Maybe it's brought down in Tshuva. Hold on. That if you can rebuke someone and you don't. Yeah, it's here. It's right here. Yeah. So again, if you want detail on this, Ram, listen to last year's shir. One who rebukes his fellow, whether in things between man and God, interpersonal or between man and God. You need to do it in private first. You need to speak to him gently and with a soft tongue. And you say that you have to tell him, I'm only doing this for your benefit. And to bring him into Olam Haba. If he accepts, mutav, great. And if not, then you got to rebuke him a second and a third time. Again, this is the part that if you're wondering why we don't do this lemaisa, then that's a good question. You have to keep rebuking him until he hits you and says, I don't want to listen. Okay, and Rama means davka until he hits you, because I think there's another shita in the Gemara that until he says he's going to hit you, or up until but not including, So Rama holds that you do it like, until he hits you. This is the line I wanted. Anyone who it is possible to give rebuke and he doesn't rebuke, meaning it's possible to give rebuke successfully. Okay, who nitfas ba'avon. Ba'avon elu. He is seized or he partakes of that avon, of that iniquity. Kulam she'efshar lo lamachos ben. That's only anyone who is able to, who it's possible to rebuke. Okay, now this is not exactly the same thing as stopping injustice, because you don't need to change the oppressor in order to intervene successfully. But in a similar way, if you see this injustice going on and you choose to not do anything about it, you just let it happen. That's going to, let me back up. Why is it that you partake of the avon if you are able to rebuke someone and you don't? What would you say? Like, you didn't do the avon.
Because you're indirectly causing it to happen when you could have made it not happen.
That's a better explanation than what I was going to say. So there's a better explanation than what I was going to say. So let's keep both of them in mind. What I was going to say is that if you really held that this was bad, then you would do whatever you could to stop it. And if you don't stop it, that means that part of you is really viewing this as not bad. Like if you saw your friend about to drink, like let's say like old school, like a scorpion got into his coffee, right? And you know that the scorpion had venom in there, and you see your friend about to drink from it. So you would just tackle him, or tackle the coffee, and to prevent him from drinking from it. So if you don't do that, and you just watch your friend do something that is going to harm him, so then part of you must hold that this is not harmful, So that's what I was thinking. I mean, I think yours is still better, but because you're actually contributing to the oppression. But no, it's not better. I'll tell you why. Because this is also in Beit Makom. I think. No, but it removes it from the framework of the interpersonal. In other words, you see a guy who is doing something. Yeah.
I mean, I think you are still indirectly causing kind of thing.
I don't know. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but somehow it feels different in my mind. Yeah, it's already like the guy's doing this. I hear what you're saying, right? Because you're not stopping it. Yeah. Okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah. Meaning because I was thinking about the case where you're just I don't know. I don't know why I was thinking about this case. You're just one of these guys who's like bird watching with binoculars, and you see someone about to not put on tefillin, or like something like that, and so I was gonna say that guy who's not putting on tefillin is not at all connected with you, so he's gonna do it no matter what. But you're saying that the fact that you could intervene and you don't means that you're contributing to the cause somehow. But either way, I think this works going. What was it? Yeah, right. It's like a more far removed leaf than either. But I think the other thing is also true, which is that if you really held that this was bad and you really had the v'ahavta l're'echa kamocha type of identification that this is a fellow human being, you would do whatever you could to stop it, you know? So similarly, if you are watching someone oppressing a poor person and impoverishing him, and you really held that that was actually bad, then you would intervene. And if you don't intervene, then you are shifting a part of you to viewing this as not an evil. And that's going to corrupt you as a person, you know? In other words, I think you don't necessarily even have, so that's only explaining the first half. Now, the question is, you were explaining it that people will see this and respond to you differently. Can we interpret it that just without bringing in other people? Do we need WD-40 again? I'm hearing this, yeah.
Well, you could say that a person who, in a sense, rationalizes injustice is
Yeah.
going to do injustice.
Right.
And we just know that when people do injustice, bad things happen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's also true. So according to that, it would be interesting. I mean, the thing, okay, according to that, the more direct consequence is he will find himself in need of calling out for, in other words, sorry, meaning he will, there's a chain of consequences here, right? He will, person who is not in line with justice will commit injustices, and that will bring about consequences. That's the essential consequence. And then it's saying that he won't be answered. So that's why I feel like we need to, yeah.
Just with the two possibilities of what improper framework this guy is working, either an improper framework of only what's happening to me matters, and if someone
Right.
else can mess up, that's
Yeah.
on them. Or if they actually just do see that there is some good in what this person's doing.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure where to go from there, but it seems like those two will lead to different consequences of what will happen to this guy.
Yeah. Those are definitely two interpretive routes. Yeah, even though they might coincide in action. Let's just read them to this, David, because I glanced at him, and I think he is taking this general approach. I don't think he's going to give us ideas, but just to see it from another angle. Bottom right, Otem Hasosim Ozno Mishmo Tagas Dal, one who blocks his ear from hearing the outcry of the Dal, Asher Yitzak Mipnei Nogsav, who is crying out because of his oppressors. Right, so that's the key here. Gemulo, his retribution, the retribution of the guy who blocks his ear, Shagamhu Yikra Be'es Tsaraso La'azara, is that he will also cry out in the time of his distress for help, Ve'emi Yashifla, and there will not be anyone who answers him. So I don't even know if he's taking the stance. Sounds like he's not saying God won't answer. He's saying like no one's going to answer him. You know. So I don't know if this helps us, but this is definitely in line. Yeah, Akiva. Oh, were you?
Well, yeah. I guess that's making the case where the person's actively being oppressed and you're actively blocking.
Right.
Versus like general. You just,
Yeah. This is a much more specific thing. Yeah. Let's roam around in other mafarshim and see if any, just see what they say. Okay, I mean, I think this is a good approach, but I feel like, yeah.
I looked up in Mishpatim where it is.
Yeah.
It's Chav Bet Sukim Yud Tet through Chav Gimel. There's a little parsha there. It starts with Soviach Elohim Yecharam.
Ah, okay.
And then the next.
Interesting. Okay, hold on. That is sounding familiar. Chav is. You said what?
Yud Tet through Chav Gimel.
Yeah. Okay. So Zoveach Lelokim Yaharam Bilti Ladashem Levado. One who is it Elohim?
No, that's because you're going to the non-God.
Yeah. Right. So one who makes an offering to other gods will should be, I don't know how they translate in this context. Should be contraband. What? Or it should be destroyed.
Isn't this a Vozar person?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to see what Unkelos does with it. Wait, where did it go? Yotes, right? Didabak latavas amai yiskatil, he'll be killed. Yeah, right. Okay. Bills Hashem levado, only to Hashem alone. The ger lo soneh v'lo silchatenu, a stranger you shall not oppress, and you shall not another word for oppression. I don't know what the difference is. Kigerim, he's embarrassed Mitzrayim because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Kol almanav yasam lo sa'anun, do not afflict any widow or orphan. Yeah, that was what I thought, right? I mentioned yesterday, I thought it was the widow and orphan thing. I just didn't remember it was the ger thing also. I mean, it was connected. This is only about the widows and orphans. Im anes aneoso, if you will afflict him. It's funny it says oso, right? Even though it's almana and yasam. Im tsa'ok yitzak elai. And if then ki'im, I don't know what the ki'im is here. He will cry out to me. Shamoa eshma takaso. I think it's in the sense of, and if he cries out to me, then I will certainly listen to his outcry. V'chara api, and I will become angry. V'haragti eschem v'charav, and I will kill you by the sword. V'hayu neshechem almanos u'vnechem yisomim, and your wives will become widows and your children will become orphans. Yeah, they're similar. Yep, harsh. Okay, so let's look at Rabbeinu Yonah, who I have not looked at yet. Rabbeinu Yonah, oh my, is this footnote for us? No. Okay, good. Otem ozna mizakas dal gamhu yikrav loyane mida kneged mida ki zeh ani tzag lo anehu. So this is mida kneged mida because this ani cried out and was not answered. Left, yeah. Gam hu yikrav lo yane. He too will cry out and not be answered. Al kain, therefore lo ye amet adam eslavavo mites lo ani ki yishal mimeno. Okay, so he is learning this about tzedakah. Therefore, a person, and he uses the same lashon that the Torah does. Therefore, a person shouldn't harden his heart from giving to the poor person when he asks him. That's the case. Even though he has not squandered, I mean, like graciously dispensed his money, and given to many poor people. So he's saying, who's the audience? Someone who already has been giving a lot. And then this other poor person comes up and the guy says, I'm yote, right? I think that's the mentality, right? It's like either I'm yote or I am a generous person, That's interesting. Yeah.
Just another within that, from my understanding of how the mitzvah is framed, that it's not supposed to be like an emotional, like, oh, I see someone who's in pain, so I'm just gonna like toss things out. We're supposed to have like more of a recognition of that. This seems to be more of like you're seeing the guy and there's like a certain effect that it has on you.
Yeah.
Which I think you'd have to understand Rebuke around that way.
So it is interesting because this guy, the way we were learning before is he's responding to just to the internally provoked reaction upon hearing the cry, right? Like cry, I feel guilty, right? Here, he's hearing the cry, but then he's also pitting that against the fact that I'm a generous guy. I have given to many aniyim, and then there's like an internal war going on. Right. So in other words, it's not. I'm not saying this to refute what you're saying, but I'm saying like this is an additional complication here.
He's saying almost like opposite John. I mean, what John's saying is that like the guy's going to just stoop lower and lower in his like bad videos.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is like looking at himself as and his actions that he's done as positive and saying, that because of my positivity, I'm good.
Right.
And it's interesting,
right.
Like the positivity is what's causing this negative reaction.
Yes, it is very interesting. Yeah, that gives me an idea. Yeah, Yaakov.
Why is this guy not being answered? Because it seems like he is giving to stuff.
Right.
So people are not going to be as angry.
Right.
Oh, you're
Well, he also means
right.
negative.
He does say that.
Allude to God, right?
And Rubin, since Rabbeinu Yonah says it, then I think it alludes to God. Rabbeinu Yonah is very into God. But it's true. But he often takes the Hashgachic approach. But let me take one step. This is not a full idea, but I think what this guy is doing is he's treating the label of good person as a reality. Need I say more? Yeah, right. Because really, each case of need, that's the reality, So what does it matter that I have given to many people vis-a-vis this person? In other words, halakhically, like there is a certain amount that you're obligated to give and whatever, but like he's basically saying like, oh, this person has a need, but I'm already a good person because look, I give to all these people. And that's just like irrational. Like, does the fact that you like imagine if just think about it in another framework, right? A doctor, right? Like, let's say it's 5 p.m., and he's been working all day, and like a patient comes in and like needs emergency surgery. It's like, I've done like 10 surgeries today. Like, I'm a good doctor, like it's just, it's just, no, you have the ability to help. You got to help. What is it? What does your personal history matter? Right. Yeah, Isaac.
I'm thinking slightly differently. That it's not that Sally's thinking that like his label of good person is a reality, because he's thinking that the category of poor people.
That's another possibility, right? I've helped the poor. Well, have you helped this poor person? No. Like there are, each one is a different person. That's another good point. Yeah.
You also end up devaluing this person's reality,
right?
Which then is going to create a misconception about like pouring is also like putting you kind of like in a God kind of complex where I'm saying like I've done my part, right?
Yeah.
And this person then doesn't like fit into that picture.
Correct. Yeah. It's like you know, I mean, essentially, what is this guy saying? I mean, he's not saying this, but man, you should have gotten in line first. You know, like you know, you just you know, like I would have helped you. You know, what godlike feature are you talking about? Because I could see different.
Like in a sense, not validating this person. Like if you said it, I'm sorry, I don't have any
Yeah.
left, right? We talked about like when a person says like he treats them kindly with words, but he's not even doing that. He's trying to make himself feel good about not having right instead of doing
I'm beneficent. Yeah. Yeah, Yaakov.
Is he saying this guy is literally blocking his ears, or thinking this way is like tantamount to blocking ears?
It sounds like he's. I think because he quotes the pasuk, I think he's saying that the pasuk is saying he's just not giving tzedakah. I don't think he's. I don't know if he's taking it literally because he just like substitutes the phrase lo ya'amit adam es levavo. You know, let's look at the footnote and see if this sheds light on anything. Just on Rabbeinu Yonah. So 2 footnotes here we have 22. It seems like his intent is to talk about the losa say of do not strengthen your heart. It always amuses me when like I'm just not going to bother with the last 2 letters of the Rambam acronym. It's just too long, you know. That's what we read yesterday.
Or Moshe.
Rav Moshe, yeah, but I'm saying like we call him Rambam. Yeah, it's just you know. So that's what we read yesterday. Okay, so maybe this will help Ariel. That because Ariel said like we're over this all the time, you know. So he says it's mashma that the that the Rabbeinu Yonah holds you're only over on this love when the ani asks from you and you refuse to give to him. Shehari kasav, because he wrote ki zeha ani za'ak v'lo anehu. He cried out and you didn't answer him. V'chein lahalan ki yishal mimenu u'rei devar v'pasuk haba, which we won't do yet. V'chein das harashba b'shvuos. That's what the Rashba's Shita is in Shavuos. Amnam tamo mishum she'eno chayav lelechas lefarnes aniyim be. Is that b'madai? Like in like the country, Madai?
I think like you don't want to go somewhere else like where there are neum. Like,
Yeah, right. I just don't know what that word is. Yeah, but yeah, that is his idea. But sorry, okay. V'chein nakat b'tzafnas paneach b'divrei b'das Rambam sham. This is not Yosef. Also see who top is that the Rogachover? Yeah. Yeah. B'das Rambam sham. Ureim b'mahari kurkus. That one I don't know who that is. Unless that's Yoel Circus, the Bach. But then he would just say the Bach, right? Shkasav v'lar das haram. Goes back to Ram. You don't need to look to like seek out an ani, but rather if he sees him and hides his eyes. Az over mishum los amets. About im lo ra'ahu eno over. V'yishlomer b'dvar im b'riyas ha'ani levad over al halav im lo nosin lo af im lo because okay. This is going into a lot of halachos. Okay, let's if you're into looking into this, look at the halachos. Maybe we should do that actually at some point. Maybe we should do that tomorrow. I don't know. I feel like we should actually look at the halachas and not just like dance around Shitos Rishonim. He quotes the Shulchan Aruch here. All right, whatever. We should do this at some point. I'm just saying that in the Aruch Shulchan. Okay. Ma'ashakas 23. Ma'ashakas of Rabbeinu Afal Pi Pizer V'Nasan L'Kam Anim Re'ei B'Sifrei Al HaPasuk Nason Titain. You should certainly give. Afilu Me'ah Pamim, even many times. Amnam Barishon Letzion, Tzidei Lomar Sh'im Nasan Kavar Kashir Meiser, Yatam Asar V'Ani Hamavakshim Mimeno, Afshim Mavatal Mitzvah Say, Eno over Los. Okay, this is going to halachas. If we're going to go into halacha, we need to go into halacha. I don't want to do half halacha. Okay, oops, I just closed this. Okay, so let's, what we didn't explain to the Rabbeinu Yonah is how is it that he's going to call it and not be answered. So yeah, you could say that's just Mida Connected Mida, but can we understand it naturalistically?
Are we supposed to understand our Rabbeinu Yonah naturalistically?
We can come up with our own understanding according to this case. Yeah.
Are you going to need to explain it naturalistically? Because even if God has some punishment sort them, it's still gonna be the case other people aren't helping them.
Right, but
he's like unable to call out, like really somehow just don't hear.
Right, but what I mean by naturalistically is like if you're saying that God is like arranging things such that no one is around when he needs help,
Okay,
versus
you have to say it.
Say again?
You have to say it.
Right, but I'm looking. Can you say it like as a natural result?
You want to like get into the meeting, figure out like call that like.
Yeah. Keep it.
I mean, see what he's doing wrong here is just focusing on himself, as in like he's only giving charity or whatever.
Right.
To make his quota. I guess.
Right.
Right. So then he's going, oh, I'm done. I don't need to give you because I'm good.
Yeah.
So maybe if people see that, they go, he in return asks for something, and they're like.
So let me just comment on that first. Is that you could say it's the same dynamics that we were saying before in the sense of people not wanting to help, but the difference is this guy thinks that people are viewing him as generous, but when they see him saying I fill my quota, they see he's not really generous, So and that's going to be even worse because he's kind of counting on people viewing him as a generous individual, but he really is not, and that's going to be a shock. Yeah, Sean.
So we were talking about yesterday that one of the functions of charity is that it improves your meetup.
Yeah.
But if he's not doing it in
right.
the way in which you're going to be perfecting your meetup, then he's still going to have the same meetup.
Correct.
Which means that he's just not going to be improving as a person.
That's a good point.
Which means that nobody's going to help him.
Yeah. He's blocking his own meetup development, not just his ears. Yeah.
Yeah. So he seemingly is also setting up the system where we prioritize different poor people over others then. And
arbitrarily.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
because we do prioritize different poor people, but not arbitrarily.
Okay,
yeah.
Yes. And now the system he's going to be setting up, people are going to look at him once he becomes a poor person, or if down the line becomes a poor person. And people are going to say, well, you don't need help. Like, you know how to run a business. You were successful. You're able to do these things.
Yeah.
So we'll put you on like the bottom of the line of who's going to get anything.
Yeah, right. That's a good application also. So what we're seeing, by the way, from this whole discussion is that there are many ways that these consequences come about. It's not like we have to pick one, like all of these things that we're saying are true, and that's important to be aware of when you're learning Mishlei, which is that sometimes like you have to differentiate between mutually exclusive interpretations / ideas versus there are a lot of psukim in Mishlei. I call them, I need a better name for this. I call them list psukim, where it's stating a heading, and there are many, many cause and effect things that are under the list. Like for the first example of this I saw was in, it says hold on, where is it? Dov Shakul. Pagosh dov shakul beish v'al ksil be'ivalto. That's Mishlei 17:12. Better to encounter a bear that whose cubs have been taken away than to confront better for a man to confront a bear whose cubs have been taken away than to confront a fool in his foolishness or a fool in his foolish anger. So there's a lot of ideas there, but the main thing is basically that the Mefarshim basically list all the ways in which a fool is more dangerous than an angry animal. So the fool, for example, an animal will only attack you if you are in its presence, but a bear is not going to buy a plane ticket and fly cross country and scout you out and wait in the alley and mug you, whereas a human being might do that. Or a bear will act in predictable patterns. There's certain things that bears do when they're angry. A fool can engage in many, many different forms of revenge. A bear forgets, maybe, I don't know, they thought that the bears forget. A human being can hold a grudge for decades, So the pasuk is not saying one specific consequence, it's giving you a list of consequences. Here too, I'm sensing that this is a pasuk where there are many reasons people are not gonna help you when you cry out, and we're saying all of them. So we don't have to feel like they're mutually exclusive. Let's do Meiri, if there is a Meiri. Yeah, there is. Okay, on the previous page. Yeah. Otem ozno mizakas dal gamhu yikra v'loyane. Hey, Ora Tori. This is a Torah Insight, meaning it's in the realm of mitzvos. Larachim al hadal, to have mercy on the poor. V'yiud onesh al miniaso, and it's promising a punishment on if you would refrain from doing this. Shagam hu yikra lakel yisparach he too will call to God, to give him what he needs, and he will not be answered. Like the Chacham said to the king in Mishlei Ha'arab, in the Arab Mishlei. I don't have a copy of this, but there's I guess, Meiri was a what do you call? He was a Chacham of Lomi Mikol Adam. He often quotes from Musar books that are not, not ours. So Mishlei Ha'arab, I don't know who wrote that, but I don't think it's from us. It says in the statement to the Melech, Zachor ki lo yirucham machar mi shelo yirachim hayom. Remember that it's much more elegant in Hebrew. A person will not receive mercy tomorrow if he did not give mercy today. Okay, meaning if you don't give mercy today, you're not going to get mercy tomorrow. This includes anyone who renders himself cruel or indifferent so as to not be entreated by his friend in that which his friend needs, according to his means. So he's saying not just poor people, anytime your friend needs something and you're able to satisfy that need and you make yourself indifferent to that need. Okay, so I don't think this is going to lead to anything new than what we already have. Yeah.
Is there some level of explanation to this? Like, why does God act this way?
You mean dafka with the God? Because we've been focusing on people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's think about that. I'm smiling because, like, I think this kind of goes into like how tefillah works in general.
I mean, let's just say that can be this a natural, like, consequence kind of thing, which would be that when you screw yourself over with your mitos, you just become somebody who, like I'm saying, like we're all saying, it's somebody who people don't want to help. When you become like
right,
I guess it's kind of like natural, like flowing thing that when you warp your emotions in a way that you don't respond to normal stimuli, that people see that, or you just you stop seeing the bad, and then you. I mean, no, because they're saying that you are crying out. So, but people see that, and you become a wretch that people don't want to be around. Help.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to say like it's some sort of crazy kind of communicating.
Yeah. I agree that is a legitimate approach. Yeah.
It's kind of speculative, but I guess presumably God's mitos aren't like arbitrary. They're goal seeking.
Right.
Like, God's not just like a free dispenser out from endlessly, like a Christian kind of.
Yeah, not like a Christian idea, but he is mitiv l'roim v'latovim. He does do good for the Rishayim and the Tzadikim. Yeah. I actually want to refrain from answering this question for two reasons. One is because of our Thursday night shir about the Rambam's view of hashgacha. I always, when I'm davka setting out to update my ideas of hashgacha, I like to refrain from answering questions about hashgacha because I want to let the new ideas develop. And then also, there's another shir brewing that I've been working on for 3 weeks about how God benefits the wicked and the tzaddikim, and I think I need to also not answer for that reason. Okay. So I can't. I don't want to give. Yeah, sorry. There's a gestation period. Yeah. So. Sorry. Okay, let's do the derech nister. Va'af b'derech nister tifarshehu al manias limudo meharu'uyim lo. Oof. Okay. Even in the derech nister, this you can explain this on withholding teaching. Okay, people who are roi for it. Is he just talking to what I just said? Is he talking to me? Way to call me out, Meiri. Yeah.
The ideas are still processed.
Yeah. It would be an injustice if I gave you these ideas in their unprocessed form, right? You get metaphysical botulism, right? V'gam hu lo ye'aneh. He also will not be answered. Ki lo teshalim chachmaso bizulas zeh. This is interesting. He will not perfect his own chachma without this. Okay, so this is criticizing people who are, I think he means in the global sense, not in a particular sense, that if you are capable of teaching others and you refrain from teaching, you will suffer. Why? Because your chachma can only be perfected when you're teaching, right? That's the statement of in Chazal, but I only know where to find it in the Rambam. Hilchos, Talmud, Torah, end of Perek Hamishi. Kashem shel talmidim Talmidim mosifin chachmas harav. Talmidim increase the chachma of the Rav, umarchivin libo, and expand his mind. Amru chachamim, the chachamim say, harbe chachma limarti, I have learned much chachma, mechaverai yesem merabosai, from my peers more than from my teachers, umin talmidei yesem mikulam, and from my students more than anyone. Ukashem she'etz katan madlik es hagadol, just like a little piece of kindling can ignite a big fire. Kach talmid katan mechadid es harav, so too an inferior talmid, small doesn't mean small in stature, it means like in chachma, can sharpen the Rav to the point where he brings forth tremendous wisdom through his questions. So if you are capable of teaching people and you don't teach, your chachma is going to suffer, and that's not a hashgacha pratis mida. It's just your chachma will be stunted because you're not engaging in teaching. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Okay. So then he gives another interpretation. O tefarish dal al hayelet hamiskin. Okay, back to our poor youth. Right, mashal for the intellect, or the Yetzer Tov. You can explain dal as the poor youth. The im yashkiuhu im echav hagadol mimeno. If you immerse him with his older brothers, and we said the older brothers are. Did we say that, or do we say it's the bodily, the other faculties? This is in the last pasuk, right? In the last pasuk, we said the older brothers are. B'nei chelo is the kokos haguf, right? The bodily, the physical faculties, like the imagination, the senses, that stuff. So if you basically make him hang out with his older brothers, lo yuchal od lahashivo, then you will not be able to return him, restore him. I don't know what lahashivo means. I don't think it means to answer him, even though I know the pasuk says answer. What does this mean? Uh, 27. Hayetzer hara. Oh, so he does say Yetzer hara. Yeah, that's weird. Shagadol mehayetzer tov biyud gemoshanim. I mean, that's different than what the last footnote says. Oh, v'nikra echav hagadol re'ei le'el yud zayin tes u'lahalan chav zayin yud. Let me just read this. Say again. Yeah, right. Because your Yetzer hara is your emotions and your desires, which are with you from birth. But Yetzer tov only comes online is your telem elokim, which only comes online around bar mitzvah. Yud zayin tes, which I don't have online, and I'm not going to look it up because we don't have time. The Meiri says in the Derech Minister here, this is going to be longer than I thought. Okay, you know what? Because we're out of time, let's just summarize what we have so far for today. So our first point was the Malbim saying that Dal is someone who's oppressed. And I think that doesn't I think that just expands everything we said yesterday. That doesn't go against it, and if you block your ear to someone being oppressed when you could intervene, so either you are directly contributing to that thing happening and you'll get the consequences of that, or you are also warping your idea of what the good and the bad is in order to justify not helping. And that's going to affect you in all these ways, right? Either because it's going to affect your further behavior, people respond to you or whatever. Then we have the Rabbeinu Yonah saying that this is a guy who is justifying not giving to the poor because I've already given a lot, right? So that is basically either that's just, in a way, it's like a counterfeit meter of generosity, because it's not entirely counterfeit because he is generous in the fact that he's giving to people, but it's not true generosity. It's like bare minimum generosity or halakhic checkmark generosity or public image generosity or self-image generosity. He's not actually responding to people who have needs. He's responding to how good he feels about his own status as a giver.
Is there a halakhic checkmark there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a minimal and maximal amounts that you have to give for tzedakah, deraisa and derabanan, and then and then what you do if you already meet that quota. Yeah, and then we said also. So did we explain the crying out and not being answered in that framework? Oh, we just said it's the same thing as the other ideas we said, and then the Meiri didn't add anything new. Okay, yeah. All right, good. So I think we really should learn these halachos. And when I say we, I don't know when we will do it, but I think that when you get to something like this in Mishlei, you really need to translate it into its ultimate practicality. And since this is an area that's directly related to halacha, we should go over the halachos. Yeah. Maybe I'll post in the chat and ask whether we want to do that for tomorrow instead of Q&A. But, you can vote. You don't have to feel pressured. Yeah. Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Very good.